Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
Yo going on with TikTok being allowed in the United States. It went down again over the weekend, and by went down, I mean nothing happened. Breaking Benjamin right there with Awaken. This is so silly. There's a timeline of events, but really, fundamentally what happened was that Biden's administration down in the United States said, hey, we're concerned that since this app is owned by China and some other things that we have come to the attention of or whatever, you got to be U.S. owned or not operate in the USA at all. And that obviously has not happened, but then there was a 75-day extension that Donald Trump put in pretty much right away when he was able to take power. And then that 75 days basically was up on Saturday over the weekend. But as you might have noticed, TikTok didn't really change that much because, well, oh, look at that. Another 75 days has been added to comply with U.S. demands. It's not really fitting with the same hard line that it seems to be coming with the tariffs and all the other news that we're getting. In this case with TikTok, it's like, oh, well, you need some more time to figure it out, that whole threat to national security thing. Don't worry, you take all the time you need. That's what it feels like. I don't know, it's very weird. But nonetheless, it all is just social media and therefore made up, and it's only going to be a matter of time before the next new thing, the new app, the new platform comes along anyway. So, at the end of the day, who cares?
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Yeah, we'll dive right into stories. Paul Simon defying the odds and everybody's expectations and going on tour once again here in 2025. He's, of course, had some struggling with the hearing. He's had a lot of issues, medical issues when it comes to the hearing loss. He thought that he would never be able to get to this point again, but he started off in New Orleans on Friday nights for a quiet celebration tour. First time he's been headlining his own thing in 2 years, and people are very, very happy, of course, in the audience. Tracy Chapman recently doing an interview with New York Times. A little part of the interview, it wasn't a serious focus of it, but she did manage to drop in that you need to buy physical music from artists in order for them to get paid. Really, she was asked about how much music she listens to. She says she does, not as much as she used to, but she's going to sound like a Luddite, but she doesn't stream music. She says she only buys in physical form because that's the only way the artist will actually get the money, and that's important to her. Judas Priest guitarist Richie Faulkner has unfortunately had several different medical episodes that have led to an issue being able to play the guitar. He is still struggling through it, but he unfortunately had a couple of open heart surgeries since 2021 and most recently suffered a stroke leading to some brain damage, a 10-hour life-saving surgery at the very beginning of this ordeal, leading to possibly complications. He has, of course, got a journey ahead of him to get back to the ability that he had before, but not going to be an easy time, and fans, of course, are there to support him. They're in his corner for this journey.
Tuesday.
In preparation for the next installment and 25th anniversary sequel, I watched the first Final Destination last night. Again, not for the first time or anything. I've seen it a few, but it has been a long time since I'd seen it. I can still remember all of the crazy deaths that happened in it. Of course, horror movie and freaky stuff to do with trying to figure out the pattern and cheat death, but you can't. Nobody can. That whole thing. It was really fun. It actually, held up quite a bit. There's, of course, the new movie that is called Bloodlines. That's something to do with the people who have survived or been affected by the movies that have come so far. So that's why I'm kind of on the road. Devon Sawa, crazy to see him so young. He most recently showed up again in the 2025 slasher Heart Eyes around Valentine's Day. I gotta say, this classic from the year 2000 still holds up, even if it starts to get a bit shaky towards the end. It's still, it sticks the landing, and I'm excited to get through the other ones before the new one arrives. On Friday over the weekend, Gretzky's goal record has now been tied by Alex Ovechkin. Happened on Friday. Famously, in 1999, number 99 made it just shy of 900 goals at exactly 894 during his career on the ice. Now, after many years, obviously it's been a minute, Gretzky's one goal away from seeing his record broken and a new league goal bar set. And he's also, coincidentally, one public-facing statement solidifying a pro-Canadian position away from the country, initiating a steamy, metaphoric make-out session with him once again. I'm kidding. Only a little. But it's actually the latest in a series of goal record moments, of course, through the history of the NHL. Gretzky said, when I was breaking Gordie Howe's record, he was there. And I said 2 years ago that if Alex gets close to my record, I'll be there. That's the hockey league, right? You guys might not believe me, but if somebody breaks Alex's record, I hope Alex is there to shake their hand. Trying to wrap my head around this chicken jockey trend that has been trailing along with the Minecraft movie, the now highest grossing opening weekend, at least for any video game movie. It beat out Super Mario Brothers from not too long ago. So a lot of people are seeing it. Kids are freaking out about it, and there is a moment in the movie where there's just an enemy from the game, particularly dangerous, but also rare to encounter one, so people are shouting the name Chicken Jockey and making a big noise, spilling popcorn everywhere in the theater. So my friend, incensed by this, absolutely upset. I asked, were you there? Did it happen? Here in town? Is this like a thing that's made it to Wood Buffalo? He said, no, I haven't seen it yet. I said, okay. He's not even interested in seeing the movie, but he's mad that this is happening in other people's screenings, which I think is very, very hilarious and also very empathetic. It's cool to care about the plight of other people, but it is just, going to the movies and people are just pulling this weird internet prank. But they're so mad about the waste of the popcorn, the intrusion into the movie-going experience. Gotta say, I can't blame them too much. Although, without the desire to actually go and sit in the theater and potentially encounter it for yourself, it's kind of secondhand rage. So, probably better things to spend your time doing.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Got some headlines to dive through. Robbie Williams says that he got a pirate disease. Rather, he developed scurvy. And the reasoning behind it, less funny than the actual result. He said that he had stopped eating. He was taking a meal or an appetite suppressant, and over time, not enough vitamin C in your diet will develop the symptoms of scurvy. Thankfully, very treatable. The underlying conditions that may have led to it, he's working on. He says he is fully addressing the body dysmorphia that he deals with. In other news, Billy Corgan's talking about what songs he would like played at his funeral. It was just part of a discussion with an interview with The Guardian recently, and he picked a Smashing Pumpkins song, which is just very, very Billy Corgan. He did say other favorite songs of his include She Loves You from the Beatles, Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd, Metallica's Fade to Black, and Katy Perry Roar, a secretly appreciated song, but of the ones from his own repertoire, said he'd probably just pick one of his own to make some sort of posthumous bitter point. You should have paid more attention to me when I was here. It says Tashila from Adore would be the one. And Metallica in the news, they've announced a new blood drive with a few of their upcoming concerts. There will be a chance to give blood and, of course, get a free limited edition commemorative t-shirt for the occasion as well. But, of course, it leads to the question, with being a metal band from way back when, what's the blood being used for exactly?
Great question! Have a t-shirt! That totally answers my question!
No, in reality, it's the American Red Cross that they're dealing with and raising the blood to help people out with. Things you won't be able to unsee once you see it, if you find yourself watching GoldenEye again. That would be the first Pierce Brosnan of his run. I think he did 4 films, and he was good. He was good, but it was a weird time for the character because all of the James Bond stuff that had happened prior was kind of informed by the Cold War, and it had really died down by the mid-90s, so a lot of thought was, why do we even need an international super spy? Like, who are the enemies? The Soviets are not really a thing anymore. Cut to 2025, arguably a little bit of a different situation, but 30 years ago, absolutely, it was like, what do we do? Well, let's try it. Let's figure it out. Let's find this James Bond, and they did. GoldenEye was a really, really fun movie, but Pierce Brosnan himself, during the very first scene where they show him as James Bond with his classic Walther PPK gun, I guess he had just had hand surgery, and every time he tried to hold the gun menacingly and coolly like a super spy agent would, his pinky was sticking out like he was having high tea. And he just couldn't get it. They did take after take until finally, the solution to a multi-million-dollar franchise? Band-Aid. A simple bandage that he literally used to tape his pinky to the gun. It's still a little there, but you don't notice it quite as obviously as sticking right out going toot-toot.
Wednesday.
Direwolves are now de-extinctified, and I think maybe the world's first species for this to ever happen? Question mark?
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
So a company out there in the world has apparently created 3 direwolves. They made puppies out of an ancient tooth and an even more ancient skull from 2 different sites in the United States, I believe. And they are, it's a species that's like straight out of science, not science fiction, but fantasy, high fantasy, where you got in like things like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and things like that. I mean, think Ghost from Game of Thrones. All of the Stark wolves, those giant things. They actually existed, though, in the real world until, like, the most recent Ice Age, some 12,000 years ago. And they're not really truly a direwolf. What they did is they took gray wolf DNA and then specifically surgically put in a few different key characteristics to make them more direwolf-y. So people are questioning, well, is it really something that's been de-extinctified? Doesn't really matter. What matters is that every article that I've read mentions Jurassic Park. Not a single one uses the pun Jurassic Bark, and I think there's a problem with that. I can't tell you how much I am living for the Firefest 2.0 series of events. Of course this thing is not going to happen, at least not in the way it has been promised. Much like the first one. There was documentaries about it, and still, people are climbing over themselves to be a part of this. Not everybody. I think most have sense, but Billy McFarland, the guy behind it who did jail time from the first Firefest being a total scam, is now offering people the chance to go to Firefest 2 later on this year, and there's just been a tumultuous line of events that and happenings that have proven that it's not what it is claimed to be. At first it was said to be on the Isle of Mujeres in Mexico. Then they said, no, the tourist board, we don't know about it, nobody knows about it. So then they said, oh wait, no, it's actually in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And then that city said, what, no, there's no permits, we don't know anything about this. And now, in an effort to prove the validity of what's going on with Firefest 2.0, McFarland has shared some permits that have been obtained in recent days. People with, I think, probably a bigger brain have looked at them and said, this isn't for what you're talking about. This permit right here says that at this nightclub that you're going to hold this thing, you only have the permit to have 250 people gather for a 12-hour listening party and does not actually allow for any live performances. Not exactly the huge festival as promised, but I'm sure there's more to come. I can't wait to find out the next thing coming from the Firefest debacle, but that's too much time spent on one story. Iron Maiden in the news because Bruce Dickinson has recently shared there is a song sung by the original singer of the band, Diano, who he will not touch. He says it belongs to him. And fellow member Steve Harris, that is Remember Tomorrow, an early era, of course, Iron Maiden song. Unfortunately, Diano, the original frontman of the band, did die last year, sadly at the age of 66. Don't even bother trying to pre-order your brand new Switch 2 today.
Oh, no!
The latest console from Nintendo was announced for release. June 5th is the day. And quickly after that, we also found out that today, April 9th, was going to be the day pre-orders were going to open at different stores. Yahoo! Exactly. But then Nintendo said, hey, well, hold up. In America at first, directly because of the U.S. tariffs and market instability. But we were still on track in Canada until we weren't. Now, Canadian pre-orders have been postponed as well, directly because of the tariffs. Gee, thanks.
Whoa!
And really, I mean, I think it does make sense when you do break it down, because imagine the pandemonium, the chaos of having all of the people in America who want to get their pre-sales figured out looking to Canada and going, hey, I'm going to fire up the VPN, order something from there, and then figure it out down the line. They don't want that. They don't want that rush. So we'll figure it out. If only there were an infinite sea of entertainment options to choose from in the meantime, you know?
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.